The little boy had simply knocked over some paint by accident. But his mother flew into a rage without even asking why. She had long since grown accustomed to her son's erratic behavior, but she soon felt guilty about her harsh outburst. At that moment, her son looked terrified. He didn't know who this woman standing before him really was. Daisy was a single mother. But her son, Andy, was deeply resentful of her. Suddenly, someone rang the doorbell. But when she went to answer it, no one was there. Today was a special day. Daisy was going out to sea with her friends. After packing her luggage into the trunk, she drove to the marina. Soon, the group boarded the boat and headed out into the deep sea, but they had no idea that a nightmare was about to unfold. The rocking of the yacht lulled Daisy to sleep. She dreamed she woke up on a beach by the sea. Someone's jacket had been left behind on the beach. As the waves crashed against her, Daisy jolted awake and realized it had all been just a dream. While Daisy was off the deck, Simon curiously asked Eric why Daisy hadn't brought her son Andy along on the trip, so the two speculated that perhaps Andy had been dropped off at school. The calm that followed made for a very pleasant trip, but unexpectedly, the sea breeze suddenly vanished, and the yacht came to a standstill on the water. Simon told everyone not to panic. They could start the engine and continue on, but someone noticed something was wrong. A thunderstorm had suddenly appeared not far away. The group instantly sensed something was amiss, but it was already too late. The thunderstorm quickly closed in on the yacht. Simon hurriedly called the Coast Guard to check the weather in the area, but they reported that everything at sea was normal. However, the communication was soon interrupted. A woman's voice suddenly came over the channel.
We hear you. What's your position? Over.
However, there was no response, and they could no longer reach the Coast Guard. To make matters worse, the thunderstorm had already reached the yacht. Unable to withstand the massive waves, the yacht capsized. By the time the storm had passed, the entire yacht had sunk into the sea. Although they had survived the storm, they felt no hope of survival. Seabirds flying overhead let out piercing cries. But just then, Daisy suddenly heard a roaring sound. When she turned to look, a massive ship was slowly approaching in the blinding sunlight. Its sudden appearance instantly gave the group a glimmer of hope. They waved frantically, calling for help. Only by boarding this cruise ship could they survive and escape the sea. But Daisy was different from the others. She felt that the appearance of this cruise ship was unusual. No one had come to rescue them. They had no choice but to board the ship on their own.
Yes, come on, come on.
After a moment's hesitation, Daisy stepped onto the cruise ship. The others who had boarded felt relieved, but Daisy was overcome by a sense of unease. The scene before her gave her a feeling of déjà vu, yet she couldn't quite place it. She was certain she had seen someone before boarding. But once aboard, the silence was eerie.
Hello? Hello?
Eric's shout went unanswered, but as they crossed the deck, it seemed as though a pair of eyes were watching them from above. They found no one in the guest quarters either, but just as they were walking down the hallway, Daisy suddenly stopped in her tracks.
Alright.
I feel like I know this place. I recognize this court.
Simon suspected Daisy had been startled, so he didn't think much of it. Soon, the others found information about the cruise ship. To their surprise, this giant vessel had been built in 1932. Clearly, it had weathered countless storms. But just as the group turned around, they heard the sound of a set of keys dropping behind them. When they went to investigate, they found no one there. But they did find the dropped keys in the hallway. Daisy took the keys from Eric.